Hello, I'm Dr. Randi Sarokoff, Associate Professor here at Kean University. Today I'll be presenting Prioritizing Learner Preference to Enhance the Quality of Life, Script Fading to Teach Dramatic Script Memorization as a Recreational Skill for an Adult with Autism. Leisure skills and recreational activities are an essential component of independence and self-determination for individuals with autism and neurodevelopmental disorders. Leisure skills defined as skills needed to engage in activities that are not related to maintaining one's living environment, such as a job or their health. These skills involve the ability to identify, assess, plan, and actively participate in recreational activities. Recreational activities are activities that one voluntarily engages in, mainly for enjoyment and satisfaction, the same as you and me. For example, for an individual to play a preferred board game as a recreational activity, that individual must first acquire the necessary leisure skills involved in playing that game. If you don't have the prerequisite skills, you can't engage in some sort of recreational activity. Examples of recreational activities might include crafts, photography, gardening, painting, dancing, listening to music, acting, um, things that you and I enjoy when we finally have some time off. Participating in recreational activities is essential for a high quality of life for all, including those with developmental disabilities, such as autism. Quality of life is defined as individuals' perception of their position in life in the context of the culture and value systems in which they live and in relation to their goals, expectation, standards, and concerns as per the World Health Organization. Possessing the leisure skills to participate in recreational activities enhances daily enjoyment, provides access to reinforcement, and creates opportunities for social interactions, all of which increases one's quality of life. To promote a high quality of life for adults with autism and neurodevelopmental disabilities, recreational activities should be selected by the individuals themselves rather than by clinicians or researchers or policymakers. Once chosen, the necessary leisure skills for participating in the preferred recreational activity can then be taught. Beowulf and Risley emphasized that behavior analysis should focus on socially significant behavior when evaluating a study, as outlined in their 7 dimensions of behavior analysis. Therefore, ABA or applied behavior analysis, by involving both direct and indirect consumers in identifying socially significant goals, can ultimately contribute to an improved quality of life. This is critical for our outcomes for our learners. Enhancing quality of life is the most crucial outcome for our learners, and only the learners themselves can determine which goals are significant to them. It's imperative that individuals have self-determination, the right to make decisions about their own lives. Acquiring preferred leisure activities or leisure skills, presenting opportunities for learners to access inclusive settings and be part of the community. One domain in which research on inclusion is particularly scarce is in the performing arts. A survey of the Screen Actors Guild in 2009 showed that as of the 110,000 total members at that time, just 1,237 identified as having a disability. If an individual with autism or neurodevelopmental disabilities desires to pursue the performing arts, as was the case for the participant in this presentation, it follows that they might seek performing arts training for adults with autism or neurodevelopmental disabilities. To date, no ABA research has targeted these skills. Conducting applied research, inclusion of artists with disabilities in the theater, film, and television is extremely important for a good quality of life if someone's interested in that. So let's look at scripts. Scripts are prompts or cues for individuals to emit target words or phrases. They can be audible or textual, like you see here at the bottom. Text, this is what I refer to as textual. Scripts can be used to teach conversations to learners with autism, and the number of target words in a script that we teach will be dependent upon the learner's skill level. Textual scripts are used in the performing arts and are written versions of a play or a movie. The seminal study in script fading procedure and applied behavior analysis goes back 32 years now. It was done by Krantz and McClanahan in 1993, where they had 4 children with autism that were ages 9 to 11. And during 3 art activities, drawing, coloring, and painting, they introduced 10 text scripted comments on a piece of paper, followed by quotes on the page. Each of the kids had one of those pieces of paper. They recorded both scripted, things that were on the script itself, the piece of paper, and things that were not scripted, unscripted, words that were not on the piece of paper. And then they were given the instructions, do your art or talk a lot. So the scripted statements, for example, might be, use someone's name. Joe, do you want to use one of my pencils? Or, hey, John, would you like some candy or chips? They were able to fade the script from the end of the sentence to the beginning using 5 steps called the script fading procedure. All 4 children engaged in scripted statements after the comments, questions, and text were faded. However, remember those quotes we talked about? The researchers were unable to fade the 10 sets of quotes. So there was a piece of paper with 10 sets of quotes, and they still needed that. And they continued to exhibit scripted initiations, and we saw unscripted initiations. Krantz and McClanahan did. But this is what unscripted initiations look like. It was kind of like recombining parts of learned scripts, language, of conversational partner. And it generalized to a different setting, time, teacher, and activity. Here's an example of the script fading procedure and how it works. I like to eat cake is the script, right? So we want to fade the words from back to front until nothing's left and eventually fade the paper. In 2001, Sarokoff, Taylor, and Paulson in the Journal of Applied Behavior Analysis published Teaching Children with Autism to Engage in Conversational Exchanges, Script Fading with Embedded Textual Stimuli. So, for example, we used a physical package of candy, such as Skittles, where the word Skittles was the actual package of candy. And this was the first word of a textual script. Eventually, we faded the words from back to front until only the paper we removed until only the package of Skittles remained. Here are a sample from the good old days, 2001, of what those look like. As you can see here, it said pretzel sticks taste great. Rice Krispie treats are awesome. I like them because they are crunchy. I like them because they are crispy. And you can see this is a conversation between 2 children with autism. We also use video games, and we use these larger CDs. Hercules is fun, etc. So gummy savers are my favorite. So we had these 3 conversations between 2 boys ages 8 and 9 with autism. And we taught these textual scripts with natural embedded stimuli, these packages of candy or the video games with the words on it. So the text on the package was always the first word in each script. Scripts were faded from back to front, as I showed you, in 5 fading steps. For both participants, all text and paper were faded for each of the 3 scripts. All that remained was the package of candy or video game case. All conversations maintained in the presence of these natural stimuli, and we saw the emergence of non-scripted initiations. Here's the graph from that study. As you can see, this was one conversation, another conversation for the three conversations across two kids. These are Lou's data and these are Jack's data. And this is a multiple baseline design, commonly used as a single subject research design in applied behavior analysis. So now we want to look at script fading to teach an adult with autism to memorize a dramatic script. Sarokoff and Gillis, 2024. This study aimed to use the script fading procedure to teach script memorization to an adult woman with autism as a leisure skill required to participate in a recreational theater activity. The script fading procedure was chosen as the instructional procedure because it had been effectively used in previous studies to teach conversational speech to individuals with autism. And effectively, a dramatic script is a conversation between two actors. The goal of the study was to determine whether this script fading procedure could effectively promote line memorization, thereby facilitating inclusion in a self-selected recreational activity for an adult with autism. This study also sought to extend research on the effectiveness of the script fading procedure to teaching adults with autism, as no previous studies have ever involved adult participants when using the script fading procedure. So our participant, we used this socially valid goal, right? The participant was a 31-year-old with autism who attended an adult day program and a residential support facility that included participation in a variety of classes themed in the arts. Prior to the study, Juliet, our participant, attended the performing art class and auditioned for performances every year for 3 consecutive years, showing that this is an activity that a recreational activity she wanted to engage in. She never demonstrated the ability to memorize even a single line of 5 words. She was able to read and recite the lines while holding the physical script, but was unable to recite the lines when the physical script was removed. Although there were other activities available to her, she remained committed to participating in theater class. That's because this was her chosen recreational activity. She also reported being very frustrated that she couldn't manage to memorize the lines without a verbal or textual prompt. So we finally published the study. Gillis was my student who maintained a relationship with me for the last couple of years as a Cougar postgraduate. And we just in November published this study in 2024. 3 dramatic scripts were taught to an adult woman with autism using this script fading procedure similar to Sarokoff et al. 2001. We used a multiple baseline across dramatic scripts to show experimental control. Prior to baseline, the pre-reading phase, the participant read through each dramatic script only one time with the physical script in hand, and no data were recorded. Here's an example of the scripts. They were very simple scripts. For example, script A. Good morning, how are you? Was character 1. She was always the second character, the ones in bold. I am doing well, thanks. And then the partner said, do you have the time? She said, sorry, my watch is broken. He said, that's okay, see you later. And Juliet said, have a nice day, friend. And we created these simple scripts that she was able to read based on her level of functioning. During baseline, the physical scripts were removed and the participant was unable to recall her lines. Following 5, these are baseline sessions. So this is baseline for script A, this is baseline for script B, and this is baseline for script C. Following 5 sessions in script A, where you can see she didn't memorize the lines, we introduced phase 1 of the interventions, while script B and C remained in baseline for experimental control. As you can see, here we're in baseline, here we started phase 1. In phase 1, the physical script was returned to her when the participant, Juliet, met criteria, which was 14 out of 15 target words, we entered phase 2. Um, so as you can see, once phase 1 was complete, now the second script, B, entered phase 1, and it wasn't until Juliet mastered phase 1 of the second script, B, that C was introduced here. That's what a multiple baseline design is. And it shows experimental control. After each script met criteria in phase 1, that script was then faded in 5-step script fading procedure, replicating Sarokoff et al. 2001, which we call phase 2. The words of each target line were faded back to front in 5 steps. Now, these were only Juliet's lines. The lines of the other character was still remained on the paper. They were not faded. After all of her words were finally faded, then we went to phase 3, where the Q lines, or the staff members' lines, the other character, were faded. And finally, the participant at that point was handed a blank piece of paper. Once she mastered the conversation with the blank piece of paper, then we removed the blank piece of paper. And she continued, as you can see here in the graph, to have very high rates of memorization and interacting with the scripts, both A, B, and C. Let's take a closer look. This is, again, script A, script B, and script C using a multiple baseline design. As you can see here in phase 1, she was able to read everything with 100% accuracy. So we introduced phase 2 for script A. I want to point out this X. This just indicated an interruption in services because she had illness. So it's very important that we indicate that here. She came back fine. At this point, 1 word was faded, and she was fine. She still was able to memorize the lines. However, in script 2, we had a bit of a problem because we just started phase 2, which means we removed the last word. And that was the first session right here after an interruption. So we had very low data. So we decided we would reintroduce the whole script one time so she would remember what the words were, remove the script. Then when we removed the last word, as you can see here, she had 100% accuracy for the rest of that phase. And you can see similar results for script C. Again, in all the other phases, as we faded out all 5 words, the other character's line and the paper, she continued to be at almost 100% accuracy. In other words, Juliet memorized the scripts. She maintained the scripts for a couple of weeks after the study concluded, and she generalized the scripts to a different actor playing the other character and to a different environment, a different stage setting. Juliet's success in this study represents a significant step forward in her path towards self-determination by demonstrating that she can successfully learn a skill in her preferred area of leisure and recreation. This goal was socially significant for Juliet because she expressed a strong desire to participate in the stage performance produced by the day program. But her opportunities to do so were limited by her ability to memorize lines. Since she had previously been unable to memorize dramatic scripts when it was required for her performance, acquiring this skill granted her access to more performance opportunities in the future. As she made significant progress throughout the study, she continually remarked on how surprised she was by her success in memorizing more words from week to week as a result of the script fading procedure. So, as Juliet's desired outcome was to gain the ability to memorize lines so she could participate in future performances, her quality of life was improved. The success of this intervention marks the first time that the script fading procedure has been used to teach a performing arts leisure skill to an adult with autism and extends the research of Sarokoff et al. 2001 by applying the script fading procedure to a novel area of research and to using adult participants. This study demonstrated that the script fading procedure was effective in teaching an adult with autism to memorize her lines in 3 different dramatic performances and accurately recite her part of the dramatic script after the physical script was removed. Juliet also generalized her ability to recite those target lines in all 3 dramatic scripts in a novel environment, with a novel scene partner, and in the absence of that physical script. She maintained memorization of all 3 scripts with perfect accuracy for 2 to 4 weeks following the conclusion of the intervention. It could also be considered a cusp behavior in applied behavior analysis for performing art skills, as the ability to learn more varied and complex acting techniques is dependent on the actors first being able to memorize their lines. Data were only presented for this one participant, so this is a limitation of the study. Although we were able to show experimental control through the use of a multiple baseline design, that's why we were able to be published. No generalization probes were taken during baseline. That's another limitation of the study. Additional limitations included that we didn't take treatment fidelity data. So to be thorough, future studies should include treatment fidelity measures. Maintenance and generalization probes were limited by the experimenter moving out of New Jersey. Yes, the cougar left New Jersey, so we could not take any more data. The authors were unable to explore longer or more complex scripts with Juliet after she acquired the target skill of memorizing a short, simple script. So future research should examine the outcome of attempting to memorize longer scripts with more complex language, more than 2 actors, or more monologues with no scene partner. Though the current study examines script memorization as a recreational skill, the possibility of conducting studies for performing arts vocational skill training should also be explored. Further research aiming to teach performing art vocational skills to adults with autism might include matching facial expressions, pace of speech, body language, and voice tone to portray specific characters. Inclusion in recreational and community settings should also be a goal of future research. Some final thoughts. As more stories about disability are adapted for the stage and screen, it's imperative to include artists with disabilities in the entertainment industry, which will begin with accessible vocational skill training for the performing arts for these people. Future studies may also find value in documenting measures for social validity, quality of life, and learner preference through interviews, questionnaires, or other forms of self-reporting by the participants. Research in ABA across all areas should also strive, as this study did, to center the preferences and goals of the individual learner. Just as Juliet dreams of becoming an actor, so does every person have a right to determine what quality of life means to them and to be given the tools to fully integrate into meaningful settings. And here are the references, and I thank you very much for attending this presentation during Kean Days 2025.